I got a question today from somebody who was having some trouble making their own flayed flesh project based off of the tutorial I have posted on my blog for the tablecloth. And rather than trying to explain it to him one messenger conversation at a time, I figured it would just be easier to go ahead and we can do a little tutorial. And I'll walk you guys through the basic process and answer any questions anybody has. And then what I'll do is I'll save this video if I can figure out how to do it. And we'll post it online. So that way, if anybody down the road has questions, you'll have a quick, easy way on how to treat the fabric that we use so that it looks like this when it's done. Because when you start out, it looks like this. So we're going to make this into this. What are you guys doing to get ready for Halloween? Let's go ahead and get started here. What we're going to be doing is making the flayed flesh. I used tablecloth in the tutorial online. We've also done a corset for my Halloween costume a couple years ago, and this is the Book of the Dead that I just finished a couple of days ago. So yes, let's go ahead and I will show you guys how to make this look like that. So the first thing you're going to need are your supplies. And I apologize, I don't have a ton of supplies on me because I made this the other day, so I didn't buy a ton, but I've got a couple of scraps here that we can work with. So what you're going to start with is your foam headliner fabric. You can pick this up at Joann's. It's like 14 bucks for a yard of it, but it comes on a massive roll. So a yard of it is actually more like 5 yards. So yeah, there's tons of it there for you. My suggestion to you, because it does get a little pricey, is to download the app through Joann's or look through their coupons and snag one of those 40 or 50% off ones. They are worth their weight in gold. So yes, you're going to need headliner foam. You're also going to need liquid latex, this kind. You want the ultimately kind of liquidy stuff that does come in a thicker version if you go through like Michael's or Joann's or any of those other places, and they have it. It's called Mold Builder, and it's essentially the same stuff. It's just a whole lot thicker, and you actually want the thinner stuff because it's a lot easier to brush on and play with. And you're also going to need water. We got some water, and you're going to need some paints to give it proper gooey looks. You want to have your primary blue, brown, couple reds in there. And then you're also going to need some brushes that you do not mind kissing goodbye to because you will ruin them. Scissors are always good. And a spray bottle. A spray bottle is absolutely necessary. Fill this puppy up with water. It will help you make that kind of blotchy, bruised look. So let's go ahead and we'll get started here. We'll do a little scrap first. And as we're going, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I will try to answer them as soon as they come through. I don't know if there's any kind of delay with you guys, but we will do our absolute best. So I'm just going to hack this up with my very dull scissors. So we've got a couple pieces to work with. And the first thing you want to do is get some paint. So yeah, you want to paint this thing before you start putting latex on it. So we'll get some blue for some bruises. Get a little red. Oops, I didn't poke a hole in that one. Brand new paints. Yay. There we go. Oh, I put a little too much on there. You also want to make sure, I'm sure you can see by this that I have a pad down. You want to make sure you protect your space, because if you don't, you will be cleaning this stuff up for weeks. And it's not easy. In fact, my family still doesn't know exactly what happened to the baking pan that I used last time. Don't tell them, it's hidden until I can either A, replace it, or B, figure out how to sand it. Alright, so what you want to do is start with your paint. Go ahead and get your brush a little damp. Wipe it off on the awesome multi-purpose Wii pad. Thank God for these things. And you're just going to go through and start painting. And I like to start at the edges and just barely get your brush wet. You just basically want to make this stuff blend. It doesn't have to be too soupy. And just start blotting it onto there. And what I like to do is really focus first on the edges, because you're going to be making this look like it's chunks of raw cut out flesh, and the edges are going to be experiencing the most trauma. So from a pathologist's point of view, you want to give it a nice bloody, disgusting red edge, because that's where the most trauma has happened. So there you go. And we'll mix in a little blue for some bruising. There we go. Make it a nice kind of purple color. There we go. Now the nice thing about this fabric is that it is a real foamy kind of material. So it's got some give to it, which is part of the reason that I love using it for this project, because it's like skin. Like if you touch your own skin, it's got a little bit of give. And the other reason that I like it is because it absorbs liquid. So now's when you get your spray bottle. Give it a little spritzing. And as you can see, those colors are starting to blend a little bit. There we go. Go ahead, soak that bastard. And go back in and do a little bit more. There you go. So it kind of gives it that nice kind of mottled look. And you can use the end of your paintbrush and kind of help encourage the paint to go through in specific sections. I use this sometimes when I want to do a vein. So like for a vein, I would go ahead and I'd get some blue. There we go. And just kind of blop it on just a little bit of a line. I use a thinner paintbrush, really. There we go. There's the edge. That's a little better. So there you go. Give it a little spritz. Look at that, like magic. Starts to kind of spread out. Get dirty. Go in and play with it. Push it. Squish it. There you go. So there's that piece. You can see it's still obviously pretty wet. Yes, happy little skin bits. So over here we have our happy little skin bits. It's like the world's creepiest Bob Ross. And let's go ahead and we'll do another piece over here. Got some more red here. This is a little bit more here. I tend to go through a lot of red paint. In fact, when I go to the store, my two biggest purchases are paint and food coloring. And I seem to be primarily going through red, black, and neon green in both paint and food coloring. So if you're ever looking for a present to get me for Christmas, you can't go wrong with food coloring or paint in those three colors. I will be forever grateful. Alright. And blue-green, yeah. So, do a little of that. In fact, you know what? Let me go get some green. Should we do some zombie rot on this thing? So we got our happy little skin bit up here. And let's go get some blue-green colors going. Carlos has asked for some blue-green. So let me grab some green and we'll give it a zombie tint. And then I'll show you guys how to do different skin tones. So hang on. Alright, let's do a little green in here, a little zombie. Ooh, that's kind of a nasty color green, isn't it? We'll put a little electric green on here. There we go. So, kind of the same thing. Just beat the crap out of it. Let your brush do what it wants to do. Very Bob Ross, very zen. The nice thing about skin is that it's different on each person, so there's no real wrong way or right way to do this. Just do what you think looks the best. Hit it with a spray. So we're getting a little bit of a kind of a rainbow effect on this with this one, but that's okay because what we'll be doing later on will actually dull that down too. So if you get colors that look a little brighter than what you actually were anticipating, don't worry. We're going to fix that. So add a little more brown. Yep. So we'll let those dry, and luckily it's a gazillion degrees out here, so it shouldn't take too long to dry. Alright, now let's cut some more, and I'll show you guys some skin tone. So, let's start with, the nice thing about this color, we're pretty close to the same color. This is like me in January or February. So if you want to darken it down just a little bit, same kind of process, just a little bit of brown. I mean, really, this is not rocket science, people. Seriously, if I can do this, anybody can do this. Clearly, this is not hard. But yeah, just put a little bit of brown on there, and then just use your brush to kind of brush some water over it, and you'll get a little bit darker color. There we go. A little darker, some nice bruising at the top. So we'll go a little darker still. Sorry, I've got my camera on a tripod, and I know I keep bumping it because I'm reaching on one side with one arm and one side on the other side, and it's kind of in the middle in this bizarro hug. There we go, a little bit darker. And you guys can keep going darker after that. You can go as dark as you want. You can do different colors. Doesn't have to be human skin. It can be any kind of skin, really. Any kind of animal skin. So back to our skin here that we've already started painting. So we got a couple layers of brown on there. We got some red on there. Do some more bruising. Yay. And what I'm trying to do actually more than anything right now at this point is just kill time for the other stuff to hurry up and dry. I don't know if it's going to dry as fast as I would like. I was hoping with the ridiculous triple digits that it would be dry faster, but we'll be able to work with it while it's wet. We'll just pretend like it's dry. So yeah, just go through and hit it again with the water. And as it dries, God, I wish I had a dry piece to show you. And maybe I can show you with a book. So as it dries, the capillary action of the foam and fabric will continue to pull the moisture in different directions. So you'll start seeing, as it dries, some really cool patterns emerging that don't necessarily exist right now while it's wet. So the longer you let it dry, the cooler it becomes. And we'll touch on the peeling effect as well here in just a minute, but we'll start with that. So we've got our pieces drying. There you go, right there. You can see it's kind of starting to blur even more as it dries, and it'll lighten up a little bit. So, you know, take a good look at your pieces before you start working with them and see if you're happy with them. And make any adjustments you want. And now, oops, sorry. Washing out my brush and bumping the camera at the same time. So now to go back to our book. So that's basically all that we've done with these, and I've clearly used a lot of browns on this one and a lot of reds. Like I started with a darker brown down here and then kind of moved into a more yellowy red up here, and I'll tell you how to do all that as well. Obviously more reds and stuff like that here. And what I basically did was just start out with pieces like this and then let them dry. And now what you're going to do, we're going to pretend like these are dry. So we'll just pretend like magic. These are dry. What you're going to want to do after that is start coating them with your liquid latex. And that is this stuff here. I got this for $14.99. I overpaid, but that's all right. I got this last year, I think at Spirit Halloween or one of those stores. Anyways, they sell them now. In fact, you can start seeing them start to pop up now. You can also pick them up online. Much like with the Joann's fabric and headliner, I cannot recommend strongly enough get a coupon. Spirit Halloween has a partnership every year with the website halloweenforum.com, and they post coupons there, and I would say definitely go there, check it out, snag a couple coupons and use those when you're going shopping for these kind of things, because that's $14.99 for 16 fluid ounces. That's almost $1 an ounce. That's a lot of money. If you can get it for 50% off, it's worth it. Grab two. It's like getting one for free. Do a better job of keeping it clean than I did. Yeah, this is what happens when you ignore it. Ugh, look at that. That's disgusting. However, the cool thing is we can use that. So save your little nasty bits. Peel a few more of those little latex boogers out of there. So you have your dish, you have your latex. It's still got some paint in it, but that's okay because we're going to use that to color our latex. So go ahead. Nice and goopy. Doesn't have to be super colored, especially not for the first couple of coats, because you want a nice kind of clear color on there. Just come in and just brush it on. And ideally this would be dry. You can do it wet, it doesn't matter, but it is going to smear what we did before with the paint. So be prepared if you do decide that you've got absolutely no patience and you need to paint it immediately. That any fine detailing you've done beforehand, like veins or edging like that, may potentially blur as you're brushing against it. It's okay though, you never know. It could turn out even cooler. So set this aside, let it dry. So we'll pretend like this is a painted piece so you guys can see what it would look like on a dry piece. There we go. So I'll just put another piece on there. We'll pretend this is like a pigskin. It's kind of that nice pinky color. So just get a nice good thick layer on there. And it looks a little bit like Muppet fur. Like you can see it's kind of pebbly right now. That's okay. Don't worry about that. We'll deal with that later on. Eventually it will end up a little smoother like this, but you can see there's still some texture on there. I mean, it's just the way that it's going to be no matter what, and that's kind of what helps to sell that illusion that you're actually holding skin. In fact, I took this to work and stuck it on my desk and told our sales department my diary was missing and told them they should come look for it. And one of the guys came in and absolutely refused to even touch it. He's like, no, I don't know where that's been. So it worked, right? So yeah, so let this dry. You're going to have a little bit of a texture on there. Again, that's perfectly fine. That's totally normal. Don't worry about it. It is going to get sticky as it dries. Like I'm getting little bits on me, but that's okay too. Again, so let's address, while this is drying, our peeling effects. So this is kind of fun. Get messy. Go ahead. This is liquid latex. This stuff is supposed to be used on skin, so don't worry about making a little bit of a mess and getting it on you. It's not going to kill you. Don't drink it, please. But don't worry about getting it on you. Go ahead and start balling those little bits up. Yeah, more latex boogers. Look at that. Gore. Bits of nastiness, huh? And you can do this also with a flat piece of silicone. Works great, like those silicone baking mats. Those work really well because this stuff will come off of that. Metal. Like I said, my parents still don't know what happened to the baking sheet that I used last week. It's actually hiding right now as I try to figure out how to get all of it off. This is the missing baking sheet. Don't tell my parents. We actually know where it is. Anyways, as you can tell, it's had a lot of hard use. And actually, to be honest, we shouldn't even be using this for cooking. It's got some rust on it, which may or may not be a direct result of me abusing it. But regardless, it is perfect for stuff like this. So you can see up in the corners, we have latex. So this is latex that I painted out last week, and it is now nice and dry, and you got that kind of rubbery bit on here. And what you want to do when you're making your veins is paint down a thin layer and then let it dry, and then just start rolling. And it's kind of a pain in the ass, but you'll get it. So there you go. There's part of a blood vein right there. And just take that, and while your latex is still slightly damp, stick it down, and it kind of becomes one with the material. So let's see here, we got some more nasty snot bits over here. So, oh yeah, here's a good one. Look at that, that's a nasty snotty bit. So that's got some stretch to it. And this is just up to the discretion of the artist. I mean, you truly are like a Dr. Frankenstein at this point. You are creating dead life, but life nonetheless, or at least a facsimile of life, as my film teacher would say, a simulacra. There we go, get some more blood vessels on there. These are like those little itty bitty veins that like feed your little tiny things. What are they, capillaries? I don't know. There we go. Oh, I'm sticking to it. It is drying. You can tell it's drying because it's getting really sticky. So that's how you create the veins. And you just go through, grab the book again, our book of reference, and you can see, so what I did here is exactly what I did over here. So you just take the latex, you roll it up, you put it on a sheet, and you let it dry, and then you just kind of use your fingers to roll it up like spaghetti. And then you just stretch it out on top of the latex that you put down on your paper, on your fabric, and it'll adhere to it. And yeah, just kind of figure out exactly how you want your little veins to look. Like with these guys right here, these are obviously thicker. I made a couple of really thick ones here. This one's really thin. To get that kind of tissuey look right there, what I did was I actually peeled it up. I rolled part of it, and then I left the rest of it flat, and I peeled it up. So you had like this fat, flat part, and then this little stringy part, and then I just shoved the book under it and then just pressed it down. So that's what it looks like before you roll it up, and that's what it looks like after you roll it up. So there you go. Just do that all over it. And that's how you get both the veins as well as kind of the peeling and flayed parts. And then, you know, if you want to have like actual scars and gross stuff like this, what I did was there's an actual cut in the fabric here. I cut out a little section, and then I took another big flat piece and just kind of pressed it into there, and then put some more veining around the edges so that it looks like that. Oh, the dogs are going crazy. They're barking. Yeah, bursted veins, hemorrhages, hemorrhoids, depending on what part of the skin you want this to look like. And then what you do is once you get everything all laid down and you got it kind of where you want it, you go back over it again with another layer. And what you want to do is just do a couple of layers, 2 or 3 layers again. And it's completely up to you how you want this to look, how you want the color of the skin to look, how many veins you want, if you want this person to look like they're going to be, you know, pre-burned or charred or however you want to do it. So it's completely up to you as an artist and what you decide thinks the best, or, you know, looks the best, or you think looks the best. Tint your acrylic, or pardon me, tint your latex using your acrylic. Just a few little drops of whatever color you decide is all you need. And yeah, like I said, if I can do this, you can do this. To give it that kind of fatty, glossy look on there, what I did was I actually went over really thick. I went really, really thick with my latex on that part, so you get that. Oh, the dog's one inside. So when you put the latex down thin, you get almost translucent, almost like you can see the colors right between it. Like, so there's like, you can barely see it right there. Shh, stop it. It's my mom, Scotty. He's barking. You can see the red peeking out through underneath there. So that was a thin layer, but when you get thicker like this, you get that kind of fatty, yellowy, fat, blistery nastiness. And you can do this either by using this really thin liquid latex and just doing like a couple of coats one after another, or I know I said don't use the mold builder, but you can use the mold builder, go over everything and give it that fatty look. Don't use the mold builder for this part. It's too thick. But if you use the mold builder and just kind of give it some nasty, bubbly, boily parts, you'll be fine. Okay, so God, I mean, really, that's kind of it. Once you get everything kind of mapped out and you got all your skin made, sew it together. I use waxed thread and a really thick fat needle. You can pick those up either at your craft store, or Tandy Leather has those. If you want to spend a little bit of money and go for high quality, go for the Tandy Leather waxed thread. That stuff's great. It's almost unbreakable. And then give it another coat of the thinner latex. That'll help lock your stitches in place. That'll help keep everything from coming up. You can see like it kind of blends everything into one big sheet. So if I were to take this off the book, it would just basically be one sheet. I mean, from the other side, you can see it's all stitched and everything, but from this side, because it's sealed with the latex, it's basically one continuous big piece. And then when you're all done, give it a clear coat. I like to use a clear acrylic spray. You can use semi-gloss. If you want it to look kind of juicy, use a high gloss. If you want it to look like an old, dull, kind of nasty bit of nastiness that's been left out forever, go ahead and use a matte gloss. I guess, is that matte gloss? Does that exist? Use a matte spray. And, God, I guess that's it. Are there any questions? Does anybody have anything specific that I didn't address that you're dying to know about this project? We can touch this real quick, or touch on this. So, it's so freaking hot. It has started to congeal. See there? Okay, there we go. That's a good nasty piece right there. See that? That is what you want when you are going to be doing that kind of oily, peeled shit. So let's see here. Pull that up a little bit. I'm trying to make sure that I can let you guys see what I'm doing here. So we'll put that in the corner. There we go. Ugh. That is beautiful. Look at that. So it's just, there you go. Let that dry. That's gorgeous. Disgustingly gorgeous. And what we'll do is, as it dries, it'll stick down a little bit better, and then once it's completely dried, we'll hit it with another seal of the latex, and it'll blend in like it's all one piece, and you'll never know that that came from the top of my ice cream container, because that's what this is. It's an ice cream container. Don't use plastic bowls. You'll never get it off. I know, because I'm still paying for a set that I ruined. Yeah, whoops. Alright, how about some more? Oh, look at this. This is so disgusting and fantastic. Ooh, look at that. That's good. That's a really good. You want that webbing. That looks like tissue for sure right there. So let's see if I can do this without screwing it up, because I am the queen of messing things up. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't say that. It's happy little accidents, just like Bob Ross. Happy little accidents. So if it doesn't turn out exactly like you planned in your head, don't worry. Just keep moving forward. It'll all work out in the end. And trust me, it will work out because this stuff is kind of foolproof. You can't really mess it up. There you go. I've dropped these things before. I've stepped on them before. I've had things like land on them that I don't, I mean, look at this. I got little bits of crap in there right now that I don't really want. There's old pieces of paint that are flecking off in here. That's okay. It all just makes it look more unique. So, gently press that down. There you go. And here you can see this one. This one's drying really well. And our little veins, as they dry, they get darker and darker. So if you want like black veins, of course, you don't really have to use black. You can use dark, dark red like this, so you get an undertone of red underneath it. You can use blue paint and get like actual nice looking normal blue veins. There we go. Oh, look at that one. I spend a lot of time peeling latex, which is probably not a habit I should, or a hobby I should say, that I should brag about on Tinder, which might be why I'm single, but screw it. If they don't appreciate me for who I am, then that's just too damn bad. Alright, I'm kidding, I'm not on Tinder. That would be awful. No offense to anybody who is, but I just don't think I would be good on there. I like long walks on the beach, and moonlight dinners, and making dead things in the kitchen. Yeah, I don't see that getting me quite the responses I want. Alright, so that's how we do it. So there you go. That is how you take headliner foam like this and turn it in to these, which once you've stitched them together, turn into this. Alright, so any questions? Any more questions? You guys are all good? I don't know. Do they have a thumbs up button? Can I get a thumbs up from everybody who says, oh no, we're fine, this is great, you got this. Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad. And you guys can reach out anytime. You guys can ask me any question anytime. If I don't get back to you immediately, it's not because I don't want to, it just means because I maybe not seen the message yet. So you can get me either here on Instagram or on Facebook under @necronomnomnom, I believe. You can also ping me through my website, eatthedead.com. You can also email me. It's thenecronomnom@gmail.com. And really, honestly, you're never bothering me. So if you have questions about something that I've done, or you need a better explanation for how I did something, or you're stuck on a section and you don't know what's going on, just ask. That's why I'm here.